So if you would all please stand and join me in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yeah, I don't know if that's my line or not. Okay, do we have any comments from the audience on non-agenda items? Mr. Schaefer. Did you know we have the workshop at 6 o'clock, right, Eric?
And that is the reason I'm here. Eric Schaefer,
Okay.
district customer. I'm unable to attend any further meetings that will be dealing with the budget for next year, the Prop 218 notice, or the rate setting. And so I want to take an opportunity for a minute or two just to suggest that in reviewing what has been done relative to setting up a 5-year Prop 218 notice, whether we pass it or not, I believe that certainly is the minimum that should be done. I know there's a couple of people who did not vote that way, whether they be for more or for less. As I've talked to people in the community, I believe they understand, and they understand more clearly when I explain to them the complexity of the system and the need for trying to not stay ahead but catch up with what has to be done. And so I'm here to encourage you to hold your ground and do what needs to be done to protect the community for the future. And I think that's especially true when you consider that with increased conservation measures, people's awareness of what their own bills are by using the district's tools for monitoring their water usage, that water revenue is going to go down, and that creates another opportunity to try and find a revenue source that will regain those revenues. So I think clearly that when you're making your deliberations, if somebody is in favor of doing less, I believe it is incumbent upon them to be able to show the revenue source that will make up the difference for what is needed and what's being proposed. So anyways, I just wanted to say I know you've put a lot of thought into it, and I know you're constantly evaluating what needs to be done for infrastructure. It's the same need everywhere in this country, and I wish you well. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. Sorry you can't make it to the workshop at 6, but I'm sure we'll be discussing points exactly like yours during that time.
Yes, sir.
Thanks. Okay, do you have any corrections to the agenda or consent calendar? And it's very quiet in here, so how about if we have a motion to adopt?
I'll second that.
Okay, 5-0 pass. Thank you. All right. Paul, this is got your name on it. We're going to talk about the customer assistance program.
Yes, sir. This is the program that currently offers a 20% discount off of the water and sewer bills for the low-income customers. There's been several discussions throughout the year regarding the desire to increase that discount percentage from 20 to 25%, and the ordinance in front of you, 571-19, accomplishes that. Currently, there's about 320 customers that utilize the program. We have added language to the ordinance that will allow tenants to use the program as long as they can illustrate that they are responsible to pay for the water and sewer bill through a rental or lease agreement. We're currently estimating that the additional cost to the district of increasing that discount percent from 20 to 25 is about $9,000 annually. And if you recall, the expenditures related to this program are funded with property tax receipts. So the staff recommendation is to approve ordinance number 571-19, amending section 6.1.9 of division 6 of the administrative code regarding the low-income customer assistance program, and superseding ordinance number 501-07 in its entirety.
All discussion?
I thought both amendments were great, both increasing the percentage and then also allowing them to be utilized by tenants in addition to owners. One of the things I was curious about, and we touched on it briefly before, was how is this program disseminated to customers? Because inherently you have a group that is typically lower educated, distrustful of institutions. And so I was curious what kind of the messaging that's being utilized and how we could look to expand that. I don't know if we get to an answer like that today, but certainly would want to begin the conversation.
Absolutely. I believe in the past it had gone out through the district's quarterly newsletter, reminding the customers of the program. I mean, obviously we now have an individual on staff who can assist in disseminating that information for us through our website and television, radio, etc.
Right.
And also, I believe that when, and this would be a question for Tim, that when customers call in who are in similar situations, they're advised of that the program at that time. So when we become aware of it, we're certainly briefing the customers.
Something that we're doing just recently, Nick, for that is we have a contractor that does our WaterWise house calls, and he partners with Liberty Utilities, so he's not just doing water, installing aerators and shower heads and giving water conserving tips. He's also installing light bulbs and talking about Liberty's rebates and programs to conserve energy. And our customer assistance program, to qualify, you have to be enrolled in Liberty's. And so we reached out to him 2 weeks, a month ago. Time seems to be flying. Within the last month, with the information so that when he's out doing WaterWise house calls, he can be alerting customers to this program also. And because he also wears a hat for Liberty, he has access to the list of customers that are enrolled in Liberty's program and can target that accordingly.
Right. And that's kind of what prompted the question is I was engaging with Liberty about some other exercises to expand energy efficiency items to low-income households. And not just Liberty, but any institution that engages in this type of activity suffers from that same dilemma. And that, again, people are very distrustful. They don't understand how the system works, so likely they're not going to look favorably upon it. And so I don't think there's a silver bullet, but I was kind of curious in what was taking place thus far. And, if there was ever any opportunity to brainstorm and see what would be going from there.
I'll keep you posted.
Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Shelley, Josh came by my house yesterday doing
great.
energy audit, and I've got some literature here. This has to do with their qualifying.
For Liberty's care program?
Yeah, have you seen this?
I have, but it's been a while.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd like...
32,000, I believe, you can qualify. That will be our qualifying numbers too.
They qualify for the program as long as they qualify for Liberty. So yeah, they don't have to do any further work.
What is the figures?
Oh, your $9,000 impact on the district, is that assuming the same number of people are on it with the 25% raise?
I assume that maybe we'd see 10% more.
Okay,
people.
so you added a little cost onto that.
That's the increase in us, what we're now, how much is it costing us now? 30 or 40,000?
It's 30 something. Yes, I can't remember.
We're around 40 something thousand dollars. Now that the state doesn't require you to pay your utility bill, how's this all going to affect us?
Say that again.
Well, the new state law where you don't necessarily have to pay your water bill.
The low-income rate assistance program, and those have not gone into law yet. We're fighting those in Sacramento to prevent that from happening at a water tax level. We're actually hoping that that kind of benefit would go through CalFresh program or some other, that those who are in need are able to get that added need met through other programs rather than through the water companies.
But there was a bill that was passed where we turn their water off essentially if they don't pay their bill.
They make it very difficult. Yes.
So difficult or impossible?
Difficult. Yes, not impossible, but it's very
Has to
difficult.
be the property ultimately.
Yeah.
It doesn't make it impossible, but what we should have to do is
Does the so moved expire? So moved.
After the third question.
It just expires after the third question is said. You may know. So moved.
I'll second that.
Okay, 5-0, thank you. Okay, Mr. Caswell, Sewer Hydraulic Modeling Support Services.
Good afternoon. So I'm here to request the board to approve task order number 16 with Corolla Engineers for engineering services in an amount not to exceed $131,300 to provide as-needed hydraulic modeling services for the sewer system. A little background, about 2 years ago, we advertised requests for proposals to get a consultant to help us with both our sewer and water hydraulic modeling services. And Corolla was and we set it up to be like a 5-year program. And so Corolla was the selected consultant. They, in August of 2017, the board approved our first 2 task orders with them, one for sewer, one for water. The sewer work, well, both of those have been completed at this point, but we came to with just the sewer work because we have some time critical issues that we need to get addressed, and also just because we were at the point where we had completed all the work on the previous task order. So the scope for this task order is larger than what we would expect for subsequent years, but for this year we have a couple of one-time items that we need to get accomplished. So some of the things that we will use this money for is to complete the modeling for the Fall and Leaf Lake project so that we can wrap that up and finish that off this I think it's scheduled to be in the early fall. We'll have that all completed. And also for the Tahoe and Upper Trucking Pump Station rehab designs, we need an updated model to allow us to make sure we're designing for the correct flows, and so that we can simulate potential future storm events to make sure that how much flow is coming into those pump stations, so we have the pump size correctly, so that we can have the correct project for the district moving forward. In addition, the hydraulic model, our previous hydraulic model was built in 2009, and the company who supports the model was no longer supporting the model, so we had to convert it. So we have converted it, but we need to do some updates to it. It doesn't include the whole Fall and Leaf Lake system, and all the forestry area was not included in the previous model, and then there's some other areas that were also left out. So we need to do an update of that, and then once it's updated, we also need to calibrate the model. And with the sewer flow monitoring, you may recall when we discovered that manhole lid that was off, and using the sewer flow monitors, we were able to pinpoint kind of where that was coming from. But using that data, we'll be able to calibrate the model to make sure that it represents the condition of our collection system today and how high and high comes into the system. So that is something that we will need to do in order to finalize those flows and finalize the designs for those 2 critical pump station projects. So also the Corolla is helping us with flow monitoring as far as the locations of those flow monitors. So once we have that data, and we can start to pinpoint, hey, there's a high flow area over here, maybe we relocate some of those monitors to try to pinpoint it a little bit more closely in subsequent years. So they have been helping us with that, and will continue to help us with that. And following that, they will do an existing system evaluation so that they can find if we have areas where there's deficiencies or where there's areas where we will need to do future projects. And the final task on this is that they will give us training on this new model. And so once we have all this completed, we will be in a position where we will be able to take over the modeling and do a large portion of the modeling in-house, and be able to figure out what our future projects are using that. So, any questions?
Charlie, did you have something like that on this?
Well, we've had a lot of discussion about this in-house. I provided some additional information to the board recently, and Yeah, I think at this point in time, this is good value for the district. It advances a number of different projects, especially foaming lake and big pump station projects. And I think maybe more importantly, in 18 months from now, we'll have a fully functional model that our staff will be trained in to do future work.
And in 18 months, we'll have most of the water meters, water meters in, so it's going to give us a better idea of how much is going on during the, say, like the winter time versus.
Oh, gotcha. The water meters.
In versus out.
Those
Yeah.
meters will be better hold a handle on that, as well as with the meters that we've been putting in sewer lines. We've had a lot of discussions in operations committee about these peripheral traffic things, so I think it's a good idea.
Yeah, these flow meters in the system, were a lot of those are shifting to different locations based on what we saw in the last couple of seasons. So it's a work in progress, and we'll continue that ourselves in 18 months.
I think it's a good project, so I'll make a motion that we approve task order number 16 for rural engineering stuff, for engineering services in amount not to exceed $131,300 to provide as needed hydraulic monitoring services for the sewer system.
I'll second that.
Okay, 5-0. Thanks, Steve.
Okay, so the next item that I have is for the extension of the temporary winter wastewater treatment plant generator rentals. You may recall that in September, I came to the board to rent two 500 kilowatt generators to help us deal with any potential power outages for this winter. And our original rental agreement ran from December 1st through February 28th. And we made it only for 3 months initially because we just didn't know what the winter was going to be like. And we thought, well, if it's a mild winter, we'll be able to get the train sooner. If it's a heavier winter, we'll have to extend the rental agreement. So, well, we now know what winter did to us, especially in the month of February. So we have kept the generators on site. So we need to extend this agreement through. It'll actually be through April 22nd. So they will be slated to be removed from the site next week.
If you don't approve it.
Yeah, you're gonna say, they're gonna take it next week no matter what.
This one kind of snuck up on me.
Yeah.
I have to apologize.
Payroll deduction.
Say, I haven't voted, I want anything yet.
So, what my requested board action is to approve an increase to purchase order to Cash and Equipment Incorporated for the rental of two 500 kilowatt generators for 2 additional months and the estimated amount of $32,000.
So moved.
I'll second it.
Was this the original one, which were 60-some thousand?
It was,
67,000.
I believe it was 52 or right around 50 is what's jumping in my head, but I think.
So we're.
The original was 3 months, and this is a 2-month extension for 32,000, so I think it was right around 50 for 3 months.
So we're $80,000 or $90,000 for something that we didn't use, but we had to have it.
Yes.
Just like this, we didn't have other things taken care of.
But the good news is that we are still on track to complete the generator project this fall and have a brand new generator that we have confidence in, so we should not have to do this again.
We're on track.
We're on track.
But if they're not finished, they want to pay
If
for it.
they're not finished, we have added a liquidated damages to the contract so that, yeah, they will be charged a specific amount for each day they don't make that deadline. Thank you.
Well, if you saw that, you passed 5 months. You're off the hook for your couple month tardiness. Okay, underground drainage support services.
series of AD-HOCs. Thank you.
Okay, good afternoon, board members. The agenda item before you, item 6E, concerns engineering and support services for operations down at Diamond Valley Ranch. What the request for board action is accept the cost proposal from Demento and Associates Incorporated for engineering support services, including instrumentation systems, operations training, agronomic soils testing, monitoring and reporting at Diamond Valley Ranch on an annual basis over a 3-year period. Well, let's break it back out there. It's a lot there. So, year one engineering services. We have some kind of carryover items from the irrigation improvements project. Biggest thing is the biggest one of the two remaining items is doing the system start testing on the freshwater system. Because of the timing when we actually completed construction last year, it was at a time where there were no longer diversions that were coming off the West Fork of the Carson River that we could use for the freshwater system. So this will allow us to put that freshwater system through its paces, basically test it in as a system as a whole, where it is directly tied, and we're putting fresh water out to the irrigation fields so we can measure what flows and pressures are and what the pump settings need to be, and what the pump setting needs to be, and kind of make those kind of changes in the software and the SCADA systems and control for that system. It will help us also find any bugs and in the software and the instrumentation that also needs to be addressed. And then the second carryover item is completing the as-built drawings. We've finally gotten all the last as-built drawings from the electrical contractor and also from the prime contractor for the ranch, so they're finishing up that. Another big item is the electrical instrumentation and controls training. This is something that I spoke with Jared Ossenbach about. He requested this for electrical. Since they're going to be going down to take care of any problems with the system, they really haven't had a formal training. Again, because a lot of the project, we haven't, this is kind of a point in the project where everything's getting together and completed, so we can go over both freshwater and the recycled water portions of the project. So that's something that I think is very important for staff, that electrical gets this training for the project. Economic support and instrumentation control support, monitoring and reporting. These are recurring expenses over the 3 years of the project, but we see the level of support necessary for the project hopefully to decline over the next 3 years as we become more familiar with operations. But with agronomic support, that involves soil monitoring, and that will include testing, doing the lab analysis, evaluating the results, and then providing recommendations to staff as far as how to apply fertilizer to the fields, because you use the soil testing results to tell you areas of the field that are deficient in different types of compounds that or amendments that are being applied to the field, and how to put on the appropriate amount so you're not wasting fertilizer, you're not over-fertilizing the fields and only hitting the spots that are really deficient in nutrients. And then the other part is irrigation scheduling. We're going to lean on heavily on ITRC and DNA to help us with the irrigation scheduling, and that's going to be based on the weather data that we're collecting from our Sims weather station there at the ranch. Instrumentation control support, that involves pretty much troubleshooting as we work through, as we go through the first initial years of operation, and so we will have them kind of on an as-needed basis if we run into any problems with the software, and that they can troubleshoot and remedy with their programming services. And the last thing is monitoring and reporting. Under our permit to apply reset the water at Diamond Valley Ranch, we have to produce annual reports and actually quarterly reports as well, but we're working with regional board staff to modify that requirement so that hopefully we will only have to report annually, and that involves a number of things that you see in the table of contents for year 2 and 3, and that is typically a $30,000 effort to put that report together. Well, it was in year 1, about $30,000, so we budgeted $35,000 for that monitoring and reporting over the next 3 years per year. So year 2 and 3, you take the carryover items from the irrigation improvements project. Again, you're going to be looking for the same types of support, and then again at a progressively lower level from years 1 through 3, and the base monitoring and reporting costs. So here's kind of what the costs look like from the proposal. You can see year 1, the engineering costs are a little higher because of those carryover items, and then you have the base $35,000 that we put in there for monitoring and reporting. The agronomic support and the instrumentation and control support, you see that progressive decline as we move forward with the project. And then if you add up all those dollar amounts together, the total cost is $210,000 over 3 years. So staff recommendations for this item is first, we need to add engineering support services for operations down at Diamond Valley Ranch to the year 2 and year 3 or 2020 and 2021 budgets. And then we believe that it's worthwhile to accept the cost proposal on an annual not to exceed cost basis. And again, these are as directed services, so it's all going to be kind of time and materials. Anything over the cap amounts, we will come back to you for if we need additional services, and hopefully you will not hear from me about this for the next 3 years. And that's the program. So be happy to take any questions that you have.
What kind of efficiency gains are you expecting to see as it relates to water, fertilizer, less so in volume and more so in cost?
Well, having just 1 year under our belt, or 1 growing season under our belt, that's difficult to say right now. I'm not quite sure what the needs of the fields will be, but assuming the first year we put a lot of soil in out there, and you're just starting with the initial growth of the plants, so they're not able to really take up a lot of nutrients at that time. So hopefully, the costs for fertilizer will be a lot less than they were in year 1. I'm sure they will be. But, again, not being able to see what a full mature plant does as far as nitrogen uptake out of the fields, that's still what we still need to figure out. So I don't know if we have enough information to really talk about efficiencies quite yet.
So this is more about, not as much about efficiencies as it is about reporting to on, right?
Well, a big portion of it is, yeah.
So
half of it is that base cost of your annual monitoring and reporting.
So the same water we give to the farmers, they figure out how to grow alfalfa without any of this, don't they?
Well, they're not under the same kind of permitting.
That's my point.
So we're held to a little higher standard.
Right.
Yeah, and they're not growing alfalfa necessarily. They're growing fodder crops. They're growing grass mixed with whatever seed they
So
put
I
down.
have a
They're
feeling no
flooding-
matter
they're
what
flooding
we'd be
irrigating.
growing, we'd be undergoing a study on to make sure that we were doing it right. So,
Well, yeah, I mean, we're using recycled water,
Right. And also,
Hopefully.
that's why I brought up the farmers, because they are.
Yeah, well, that's a good point. But no promises, but, there is some kind of bias against use of recycled water, even though the state is encouraging this. So.
Normally, have to do the soils test.
No, those get
Sent
sent.
out.
Yes, they go to the agronomic soils lab and that's it.
Anybody else have anything? Did you give us enough? There you go.
I hope so.
Can you believe I asked that question?
I hope I fulfilled my responsibilities to the board to keep you fully informed as to what you're doing.
I was suddenly hitting that as so moved. So how about a motion from someone?
I move that we accept the cost proposal from Domicelli and Associates Incorporated for engineering support services, including instrumentation systems and operations training, agronomic soil testing, and monitoring and reporting at Diamond Valley Ranch on an annual basis over a 3-year period.
I'll second it. Even though I'm not thrilled about it. Five zero. Thanks, Edo.
Okay, thank you very much.
Any claims?
I'll move approval of payment of claims in the amount of $1,137,939.27.
Five zero. Thank you all. Standing and AD-HOC committee reports. Yes, I will go first. Chris, or unless you want to, please. Chris and John and I this morning met with Tamara Wallace and Frank Rush from the city. And we discussed a number of issues, as we always do in those free-form conversations and bounce all over the place. Probably the primary one was streetlights, which is, of course, a topic near and dear in my heart. The city is going to continue to keep working on taking those over, but we realize without having the burden of the 218 process on us for rate increases on the streetlights, we think it'd be best to be, for the community and for our relationship with the city, to hold on to that, our billing, the pass-through billing on the streetlights for a while, passing on the cost increase as soon as possible so that we aren't gifting public funds, but yet still holding the city to their eventual promise of taking over the whole thing from us. And just nothing I can say is I was reasonably assured that the process is moving forward, and so I think that's going to be solved. Other than that, we talked about workforce housing, was probably the next lengthy topic we talked about, and just kind of bringing Frank Rush, the city manager, up to speed with regards to what our involvement is with if you have a housing project, how sewer rates work, how water rates work, how our ordinance works in terms of transferring sewer units and those kind of things. And so I think he has a little bit better understanding on that. He will be working with John in the future on those things. I don't know, we talked about a couple other things. I think those are the two main issues. Did you guys want to add anything to that?
Not really. Well, maybe we'll follow up on the workforce housing. I think we need to meet with Frank, and I'll get with Tim and explain in more detail how the certification process and costs work. So look forward to that, and I think our progress on the streetlights is really positive.
Yeah, it's negative in that it's not going to be solved right now like I kind of would like it to be, but it's a positive that I think it is going in the right direction. And I received assurances that it wasn't going to be put on the back burner and forgotten, and that we'd have to keep bugging them about it. So we'll, fingers crossed, and we'll keep reminding them so that doesn't happen.
Probably at no cost to the district. That was a big item.
Any other standing ad-hoc committee reports? I'm good on that. As far as board member reports, I would just like to apologize for missing the last board meeting. We had a family emergency come up, and it was not a good thing. I was in Santana Beach somewhere, so my apologies. I'll try to limit that, but this is an ongoing thing, and I may have to miss a meeting in June. So I'll do my best to keep up and not interfere with any staff or board functions. Any other board member reports?
Please go one short one. I attended an ADJOURNMENT meeting yesterday in Sacramento on the headwaters issue, and they're kind of generating some new enthusiasm as far as moving ahead on some of those issues the last couple of years. Spent a lot of time working on legislation in Washington, especially the fire borrowing issue, which has now been resolved, and so we're moving ahead and going to kind of review the original framework that was prepared 4 years ago. Some of those things are outdated and have either missed the deadline or goals on some of them, and some of them have been completed. So we're going to redo that. We're going to have another meeting at the Aqua Conference in 2 weeks, and there'll be some more meetings this summer. We're moving ahead on issues, and a lot of things that are coming out of this as far as fires, the forest, including the nature of the forest, so that there's improvement there as well as increased runoff.
I just want to update on a couple of upcoming events. On April 25th from 6 to 8 p.m. at the South of Tahoe Middle School, there's a community wildfire preparedness and evacuation planning event. I got a flyer and pass it around, but just wanted, with all the conversations we've had, the 218 process, fire preparedness, saw this coming up and wanted to share it with as many people as I can. A lot of stakeholders seem pretty interesting.
Yeah, we discussed that also with the city today, and they plan on having a presence, and I believe John said you're
Also be there.
we'll have some other ideas.
Okay, no, sounds good. And then obviously, Monday is Earth Day. The following Saturday is Earth Day in Beachy Park. Participating Shelley and SDPD will have a presence. Groups I work with, Tahoe Climate Change Action Network, and a host of others. We're holding our 3rd annual Climate Change March, meeting at Lakeview Commons at 9:30 a.m. Starting walking at 10, and then the rest of the day is ours. Hopefully, we have beautiful weather like today. So see everybody Earth Day. That's all I have today.
Okay, cool. What's going on with the Oklahoma County Water Agency?
So then April meeting was canceled, and then the May meeting, they changed it from Wednesday to Friday. And I was looking at the operations committee minutes, looks like no.
Nothing new from Ken. I talked to Rick Wind a little bit about the progress on that supplemental funding, so he's looking into that with Ken.
Any chance to mention any discussion regarding this decision not to go forward with the analysis? And the reason I was curious is that, is there a possibility of reevaluating that in the following years? Or John, did you hear anything about that?
I asked Rick to send me all the backup information that you submitted to Ken, right? So that I could get up to speed on that, and then when we see Ken next time, we'll talk about that in more detail and see what his thoughts were behind that and opportunities to improve that probability in the future.
Cool. Well, thank you so much. If you could really much keep me updated, I'd greatly appreciate it.
Absolutely.
But they haven't eliminated this possibility in the future.
No, just this one-time submittal can determine that he didn't have the funding available to support the project.
Well, it was just going to be for Tahoe, and it was going to be a framework for looking at the other water purveyors. So anyway, what would be the first?
Yeah, I'll give what his thoughts are behind that, and see what we can do to improve that in the future.
Thank you so much.
And I think next, I just have a couple of quick items on staffing. We're currently advertising for 2 positions. In engineering, we're looking for an associate or senior level engineer. And this position is vacant due to Steve Caswell's promotion to principal engineer. And that closes May 3rd. And then water reuse worker. This position was vacated due to Jason Blaze's promotion to the lead position. And so this is a really good entry-level position into the district. If you know someone interested, this is currently being advertised, and that closes May 6th. And then just real quick on community outreach, I'm continuing to present to a number of community organizations, talking about the district, our people, our challenges, our goals. And last week I presented to the South Lake Tahoe Lodging Association, this morning to the Tahoe Chamber of Commerce, the big chamber, and tomorrow to the Tahoe Douglas Rotary. And I have about five or six more on the schedule coming up, so we'll keep them busy getting our message out. I think everybody gets the fire flow kind of concerns, but I think our message about we have aging assets and we need to take care of those, I think that message is taking some hold as well. And Shelley will be talking about our 218 outreach. And Tim. You drove Tim up here.
It's more fun. Before I jump to 218, just expanding on the community outreach that John was talking about. Thanks, Tim, for mentioning Earth Day next Saturday. South Tahoe PUD is on the planning committee. Did I call you Tim?
Can I just say?
That's the best compliment.
I'm so sorry, I've never cursed in front of the board. Nick, thank you, Nick, for mentioning Earth Day. Thank you for nothing. South Tahoe PUD is on that planning committee, so we're very involved in that. I'll be there for sure. And just in case you know any fourth graders, on Tuesday when it was puking snow out, we took all the fourth graders out on the Miss Dixie boat for an Earth Day boat cruise. So South Tahoe Public Utility District was a station. We were talking about where does your drinking water come from. The Forest Service was there having kids look through binoculars. TRPA was there talking about aquatic invasive species. And then TINS, Tahoe Institute of Natural Science, was there to talk about wildlife. So if you hear fourth graders talking about being on a boat, we were there. It was a great event. So moving on to the Prop 218, you guys know that we sent out around 8,000 emails April 3rd talking about our meeting tonight. I received about 6 emails back from customers with comments on them. I'd say 4 were negative, 2 were neutral, just asking questions. Then notices hit the mailboxes April 4th and 5th, and we were expecting last week to receive a lot of calls from customers since they had just received them in the mailbox. The customer service really received less than a handful of calls. The meeting tonight has been covered by all of our local media sources. The South Tahoe Now and Tribune both had stories. Mountain News and the Tribune had an ad. I was on KRLT radio yesterday morning talking about it, and I've been on Lake Tahoe TV almost weekly, if not every other week, the last few months talking about all of our public meetings too. So I don't know how many people we'll see tonight. I'm encouraging anyone who wants to learn more to come and engage and provide feedback. And then Tim's been receiving responses from our Prop 218 notices as well.
So just to let you know, we have received 181 protests, of which 7 were invalid. So on the water side, it's about 1.2%, and on the sewer side, it's a little under 1% of protest at this time. And that's as of today.
What were those percentages again?
1.2% on the water side, and about 1% on the sewer.
I'm guessing everything we received is a protest, right? You don't bother to send it in if you aren't bothered.
And a lot of letters too.
Right,
So
right.
if you're interested in reading some good letters, I have those for you as well.
And I think historically we received those protests earlier rather than later. Like we get them right away.
Really, we'll get them right after the first bill goes out in July. That's when they call and say, what are you doing? That's the morning when we get the vote on the calls.
So we'll get an update next board meeting.
I actually had a chance to talk with a woman who called the district office about the task for me and said she specifically asked for me. So I sweated a bit before I called. But kind of to what John had said earlier, that, you know, she said I knocked on her door and she trusted me and she wanted to know what I really thought. She wanted fixed income. Kind of to what John said is, you know, not just the fire issue, but when you explain all the other elements, I think people were very receptive. You know, everyone knows the importance of water, so I think it was a good conversation.
What did we get last time, Jim? You know?
No, back in 2014, I think we had like 360 protests.
We had 2%. Okay. Thank you.
Pretty much trouble with what?
Yeah, kind of makes that 50% threshold out of reach, doesn't it?
Thank you.
And if you'd like to see any of the actual emails that came in, we can provide those.
Okay, are we already here at notice of past and future meetings? It looks like we are. So why don't we, we did okay on that. Why don't we come out of open and go into closed, but you want to take a couple minute break? Hey Jim, don't sneak out the door yet. I got a question for you. See? So, nothing to report, meeting adjourned.